ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਇਨ ਫੋਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਰੁਪਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ। ਬੀਤੇ ਦਿਨੀ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੀਲ ਰੀਜਨ ਲਈ $276 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੀ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਦਾ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ, ਜੋ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਲ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਹੈ। ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਫੈਮਿਲੀਜ਼, ਚਿਲਡਰਨ ਐਂਡ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਅਹਿਮਦ ਹੁਸੈਨ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਲੀਫ ਮਿਲੇਗਾ, ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਨੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ, ਚਿਲਡਰਨ ਐਂਡ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਅਹਿਮਦ ਹੁਸੈਨ। Hello and welcome to our studio.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. We will talk about the announcement I mentioned you did in Peel last week, but let's begin with the recent announcement you did in Toronto today. That is around $73 million for the housing, affordable housing. So how's this going to work?
Yeah, so it's part of the National Housing Strategy. This was through the Rental Construction Financing Initiative. So $73 million financing from the Government of Canada through the Rental Construction Financing Initiative to create 233 high-quality rental units. Out of that, 70 of them will be deeply affordable. So we partnered with a private sector developer to do this, and for the Rental Construction Financing Initiative, it's usually private developers who access that fund. It's not just about building rental units, but it's also about building communities, because part of the requirement for the fund is that you have to build close to transit, close to community centers and workplaces and schools and daycare centers. This particular project is a few steps away from Kipling subway station, and also a lot of job employment centers, as well as a lot of community space. So it's the exact kind of thing that we want to fund, but the National Housing Strategy has other components as well that fund more affordable housing, and I can talk about that.
And city is also contributing in that?
Yes, so for the affordable, for the co-investment fund under the National Housing Strategy, we partner with either NGOs, non-profit organizations usually, or municipal government. So a good example is the announcement I made last week in Peel region. It was a collaboration between the Government of Canada and the municipality of Caledon, Brampton and Mississauga. So that was under the co-investment fund, and that was to create affordable housing units. $276 million invested by the Government of Canada in Peel region. It's the highest investment in Peel region for housing by any government in Canada. So it's a very significant amount. And it came about because also the three municipalities in Peel region are also ambitious in terms of creating more affordable housing. And they have a $1 billion plan over the next 10 years. The federal government kicking in $276 million is quite significant. It is going, that particular project will create a total of 2,241 affordable housing units between affordable homes and even shelter spaces.
As you mentioned about the announcement you did in Peel, $276 million is a big announcement. We understand that. But in GTA, Peel region is the fastest growing region.
Yes.
But the cost of living is also going high. Do you think this announcement will give relief to the families?
Absolutely, because one of the highest drivers of the cost of living is the cost of rent. So the average market rent, monthly rent in Peel region for a one-bedroom apartment, for example, is $1,200. Under these investments we're making as part of the project that I announced last week, the $276 million one, with the housing that will be created as a result of that, the one-bedroom units that will come online will only cost $700 a month to an individual. So that's a saving of $500 every month. That people can put towards more groceries or childcare or other necessities, right? So that is how we are helping with affordability of housing in Peel region and around the GTA. In addition to that, even putting regular rental units in the market, as we've done and will do with the project that I announced today in Etobicoke Lakeshore, by putting more rental stock in the market, it stabilizes prices and prevents rental prices from going up too high, and it contributes to affordability. That project, the RCFI funding also has requirements around energy efficiency and accessibility and affordability. So about a third of the units are deeply affordable. The rest are average market rent. But by putting more of these units and encouraging more builders to build for rental market, we are actively encouraging that rents will be more affordable for working families.
As you mentioned, government is encouraging builders to build affordable units. But if we look at the history, every quarter we are seeing, specifically in the Peel region, the prices of the houses, they are going up and up.
Yes. Yeah.
Even government tried to introduce some steps. The stress test was introduced for the mortgage, but later on it faced some issues. Then there was issue with the interest rate. Prices are not getting stable or coming down. We understand it should get stable because every quarter 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 house prices are going up. So when you talk about the affordable units, how will you able to balance that market?
It's, it's always a work in progress, and as I said, we as a country are not going to be able to meet our housing targets by just relying on the government of Canada. We'll bring the lion's share of the funding to the table. Under the National Housing Strategy, we're committing $55 billion to this National Housing Strategy, which will make a big difference. We are envisioning the construction of 125,000 new units, 300,000 existing units will be repaired, and then eliminate housing need for 530,000 households. So we will do a lot, but we cannot do it alone. We need partnerships from the municipal governments, from the private sector, from non-profit organizations to bring proposals forward. It's a work in progress. I think one of the things that makes a difference in people's lives is if they have more choice. If there's more rental stock in the market, it really reduces the increase in the rent. Secondly, we've introduced the first-time home buyer incentive because we recognize that in parts of Canada, it's very hard to even come up with a down payment. So the government of Canada will actually help you with if you're a first-time home buyer, we will pay up to 10% of the value of the house in the form of a down payment for that first family that is trying to get into the home ownership market. But ultimately, it's about supply and demand. I mean, the economy will behave the way it's behaving. The housing market will adjust itself. What matters to us is to make sure that working families, people who keep our cities running, can afford to live in those cities. Firefighters, construction workers, teachers, nurses. We can't have those people being priced out of the market. And to do that, we need to build more affordable housing. We need to build more mixed housing. We need to build more affordable rental housing. And we need to build more affordable rent to begin with. And one of the ways to encourage that is through the National Housing Strategy Rental Construction Financing Initiative, because it incentivizes and encourages private sector builders to build for the rental market and dedicate a portion of the units as deeply affordable units.
And will there be any specifications to qualify for that? Because
Yes,
regularly
sorry.
what we have seen, some people who they think they can afford a house, but they don't clear the mortgage specifications. So will there be any specifications for that?
Well, I told you about the first-time home buyer incentive. It is a program that is meant to encourage exactly that, home ownership. But even there, during the election campaign, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that a re-elected Liberal government will look at increasing the maximum value of homes that are eligible for the first-time home buyer incentive from $500,000 to $789,000 for Greater Toronto area, Greater Vancouver area, and Victoria. Because those three markets, $500,000 is not enough.
Yes.
And so it's a recognition by us that we need to do more in that regard. But it's also, making sure that folks are not over-leveraged. I mean, we have a responsibility to protect the economy, but also to protect Canadians and their economic interests. But make no mistake, there's a lot of families who want to live in the Greater Toronto area or other parts of Canada that are being forced out because of increasing rent.
Yes.
And what we are doing through the Rental Construction Financing Initiative is we are making more rental stock come into the market, which will then make it more affordable for them. And I think that is one of the good programs, and it's 100% repayable by the private developers. There are some incentives that the municipalities also contribute, and what you end up having is not only rental stock, but you have some affordability, and you also have a new community coming up, which is exactly what we want, right?
We understand government is trying to help everyone so that everyone can have a place to say they are living in a home in
Yes.
affordable housing.
Yes.
But if we look specifically at the Peel region, because you made an announcement for the Peel region, you made the
Yes.
announcement in Brampton, it's becoming more like an investment sector. And as you mentioned about the Prime Minister's promise during the campaign, he also promised that he will look towards the foreign buyers,
Yeah.
foreign investment that's coming in. But we have not seen any announcement related to that so far.
We are working on that. As you can appreciate, we've been very much focused on the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. But the work to ensure that housing affordability and the availability of affordable homes and affordable rental homes to Canadians, that work continues, and it's time for us to actually get back even more strongly into that. Of course, we've been dealing a lot with COVID-19 pandemic, but we intend to keep that commitment.
We'll continue this conversation with you, but after a short break.
Okay.
Welcome back after the break. As we were talking about the affordable housing, there was an announcement, I think in the beginning of this year, when Ontario joined the federal government as a part of the Canada Housing Strategy. So how is that going to work?
Yeah, you're referring to the Canada Housing Benefit. So Ontario was the first province to sign on. It's a cost-matched program. We pay half, and the particular province pays half of that. In the case of Ontario, it's a cost-shared program for a total of $1.46 billion. So the way the Canada Housing Benefit works is we are extending help directly to individuals or households who have the greatest need for rental support. So these are people who are either in situations of chronic homelessness or who are in a shelter but would like to transition to a rental unit. And sometimes all they need is that, first month or, assistance for 3 months. Others may need it for a year. So the Canada Housing Benefit, that's where it comes in. Because as we're building housing, we're building a lot of affordable housing. We're also building a lot of affordable rental units. As we're doing that, we know that the demand is much higher than the supply. There are people who also need immediate assistance now to get into the rental market, let alone the ownership. And so for those folks, and each province will tailor their housing benefit to their particular population and their priorities. In the case of Ontario, they said they want to focus on people either at risk of homelessness or who are already experiencing homelessness, or women fleeing domestic violence, seniors, Indigenous Ontarians, and Ontarians with disabilities. That's the group that they're focusing on, and newcomers as well. So they will target their benefit to them. And as long as it's going to alleviate core housing need, we're okay with that. Each province will have a different take, but generally it's like a rental supplement, but it's not connected to a particular housing unit. If you move, the supplement moves with you. And that's another advantage.
And if someone moves out of the province?
Well, no. Then you would have to then register with the Canada Housing Benefit of that province, if that province has signed on to the program. But in the case of Ontario, Ontario now has that program, and the funding is expected to flow anytime soon.
Okay. During the pandemic, we have seen the impact on the families. You are dealing with that ministry. You have announced one-time benefit for the child care, and then from July, the child care benefit increased. Do you think that amount, because now that was a one-time payment earlier, what we got
on May 20th.
Yes, and then the increase we got in the month of July is depending on everyone's earning.
Yes, but that's a permanent increase, so it's not coming down, and it's for people who are already receiving the Canada Child Benefit.
So in future, will there be any further announcement for the families?
We have always said, one of the things we promised as part of the Canada Child Benefit is that we announced that we will make it keep up with the cost of living increase. So when the cost of living goes up, the Canada Child Benefit will go up as well. That's a commitment that we made, and we've kept that commitment. So this year's increase reflects that price increase in the cost of living, and it is to help families deal with that increase. I have to tell you, the Canada Child Benefit has been one of the most progressive policies that the government of Canada has put in place for the last number of decades. And it has done so much to lift hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty. It has had a huge impact on families. 9 out of 10 families are receiving more money in their pocket because of the Canada Child Benefit. So it has made and continues to make a big difference in the lives of families. And we intend to continue that program and keep our commitments with respect to any future increases.
If I'm not wrong, we have seen increase every year from last 3 years in this, the child benefit?
No, we said that, this is the fourth year anniversary of the Canada Child Benefit. In terms of the increase to go with the cost of living, that's a commitment we made last time. So we've done that twice now. But in addition to that, we had that temporary increase, that one-time increase in May of this year to take into account the pandemic situation.
Okay, coming to seniors, you announced benefit for seniors too. One was the increase in the GIS for the longer period, and
Yes.
what one-time payment, another was
For the
along with
OIS,
that.
yeah.
So will there be any further increase in the benefits for the seniors?
Well, in addition to that, there was also an amount of money provided to seniors through the GST tax credit in the amount of $400 for a single senior and $600 for a couple. So many seniors received that. In addition to that, people forget many seniors also received or continue to receive the CERB because they're seniors who are working and their jobs were impacted as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. So we've been there for seniors. We continue to monitor the situation. We will make sure that folks are taken care of. For example, even when the CERB ends, we will
Convert it to EI.
we will bring back the folks who are EI eligible, we'll bring them back to the EI system. For the folks who are not EI eligible, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said that that he will introduce a new transition benefit to help them. So we're going to make sure that people are taken care of as we go back to work. I mean, the numbers are encouraging. We gained 419,000 jobs as part of the last jobs report. So the trend shows that our economy is bouncing back. But as we do that, we will still be there for Canadian seniors, Canadian families, and Canadian workers.
We understand a lot of benefits were announced during the pandemic for the families, for the seniors, for the wage subsidy, CERP, but benefit was also announced for the students. Later on, it went into the We Charity controversy. So that student grant program, are they still getting it?
No, but you're forgetting the Canada Emergency Student Benefit. That was released. It provides income support to students who would have gained employment support from summer jobs. So that went through, and we were able to execute that. In terms of the Canada Student Service Grant, our aim was always to enable these young people to work in their community, and we're still trying to find ways to get that program going. It is unfortunate that it didn't go according to the initial approach, but the fact of the matter is the priority was always on those young people, and we still intend to help them find a way to give back to their community while getting really good experience.
When we talk about helping families, helping communities, during the time of pandemic, we have seen impact on the families from mental health, many, even the divorce rate, suicide rate that has gone up. So what is government doing further to help those families and bring them out of that depression?
We had, very early in the pandemic, we made sure that we forwarded $500 million to provinces and territories to reinforce the healthcare sector. We've provided additional supports to our partners when it comes to mental health supports. As part of my ministry's mandate, we have been able to put together a $350 million emergency community support fund. That fund is there to support organizations helping those vulnerable people that you speak of, to make sure that the services that they rely on, whether it's delivery of food or medicine, or providing counseling services or other supports, that those services don't stop. So the $350 million is supposed to help those vulnerable populations get through COVID-19 pandemic, and hopefully even expand those services. So it is something that our government has done, and we will continue to to work with those organizations to make sure that they are supported, because they're supporting more vulnerable people than ever before.
Coming back to housing, like we see the investment for the Peel region and today for the Toronto and in Manitoba also, I think, day before. So will there be further investment announcement for the rest of the provinces?
Oh, absolutely. We have announcements all the time. It's these projects, we're always receiving proposals. We're always receiving a lot of interest from municipalities, from NGOs, and from the private sector to partner with us as part of the national housing strategy to build more housing, more affordable housing units, and more supportive housing and more rental housing. So that's something that will continue. We have very ambitious targets, because we know that for a long time federal leadership in housing was absent. We're the ones who brought that back in through the national housing strategy. The national housing strategy is really ambitious. $55 billion to create hundreds of thousands of units, repair an additional hundreds of thousands of units. The Canada Housing Benefit is a game changer. It's going to really help a lot of people exit homelessness into permanent housing, or exit a shelter into permanent housing. Those are the kinds of solutions we're working on, and you can bet that as a government we'll continue to be ambitious on housing, because we know that Canadians are counting on us to provide them a safe and affordable place to call home.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing all this information for affordable housing. At the end, you would like to add anything?
Yes, I want to wish all your viewers a very happy India Independence Day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
ਸੋ ਐਸਐਨ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਫੈਮਿਲੀਜ਼ ਚਿਲਡਰਨ ਐਂਡ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਅਹਿਮਦ ਹੁਸੈਨ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਪੀਲ ਰੀਜਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਣਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਲ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਬਾਰੇ। ਫਿਲਹਾਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ, ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਨਵੇਂ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਉਦੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਲਈ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।